He'll make it for sure. Now that's why I backed him on TABtouch.
Hey, Luke!
Yes, Gene Simmons?
He's probably the best when it comes to this stuff!
Thanks, Gene.
You've got the touch! You got the touch, you got the power. Got the touch? Choose TABtouch. Better your bet. Download the app today.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Hello and welcome to Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. I say this every week, Cody, but I can't believe they're up to round 14
That's wild.
in the NBL already. Fascinating weekend of NBL action again. So this is an amazing thing to say, and I don't think anyone imagined we would say this 4 weeks ago. The Illawarra Hawks are the form team of the league right now,
Yes, they are.
and they've moved up to fifth position. So they're right in the mix all of a sudden. The Perth Wildcats continue to thrive. Melbourne United, a little bit of a slip up on the road in Adelaide, but they're still clear on top. The Brisbane Bullets might also be on the rise now that they've got Casey Prather back in the lineup. Can DJ Vasiljevic put another dagger through the Sydney Kings is another fascinating thing to look ahead to this weekend. So thank you to Hoop 7 for making this possible once again. Thank you to TABtouch for their support. I'm Chris Pike, but delighted to be joined once again by Cody Ellis. Cody, Happy New Year, first of all.
Yes, Happy New Year, mate. No, good to be back again. Thanks to Simon for last week. Obviously, a great episode. Always fun picking his brain, so it's they're always fun to listen to. But no, look, another big couple rounds that have happened, and lots going on, lots of movement, and a bit of excitement, which is great.
Yeah, a lot of excitement. Before we get to all of that talk, how's 2024 started, Cody? Last time we talked, we just got over Christmas, but how's 2024 started? This is your hectic time at work, unfortunately.
It is. But I was kind of off that between Christmas and New Year, which was nice.
Yes.
And then first week back is a bit quiet. That first week of January is pretty quiet, which is nice. So it starts to kick into gear right now. So yeah, big January ahead.
Yes, only a few weeks until school's back, which means that busy time for you.
Yes, very wild. But that's all right. Used to it now. So
Yes. Hello to Elvis as well. He's over there playing with his new dinosaur toy and lying in his new bed. He looks like a happy little guy, doesn't he?
does. Looks ready for a nap, which is great.
So that might mean we don't have many background noises this week.
Exactly.
Although he's wiggling around, but enjoy yourself over there, Elvis. Thank you to Simon Mitchell for joining me last week. His insights as a coach who's analysing the game so closely still. He's asking around for vision wherever he can and analysing these games. I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot or not, Cody, but did you learn something last week from Simon?
Oh, every week I listen to him. It's great. And even just reading his tweets on X now is it's awesome. I'm loving following him and listening to him and just getting that coach's perspective on things. It's always good that we kind of have that bit of versatility in our show. You know, I kind of try to give a bit more of a player's perspective and him being able to give that coach's perspective is awesome. So I'm hoping everyone enjoys and is listening and learning something.
Would you be surprised? Whoa. There we go. Hello, Elvis. Something spooked him. Whether or not it's immediately this coming season or not, but would you be surprised if Simon isn't a head coach again in the league at some point?
Look, I'd be very surprised if we don't see him as a head coach in the very near future. I think, just over the time that he's been involved with this podcast, we've seen him and his interest grow in becoming a head coach again, which is great. Obviously he left because of just the mental side of things, which I totally understand. And, just couldn't catch a break with injuries and all that sort of stuff. Always had a great team, but just could never catch a break. And that drains on you. So the fact that he's already up and raring to go and cutting tape up again and, doing all the head coach things it is awesome to see. And I think we probably see him in the league soon, hopefully.
Is Adelaide a good fit for him? He talked last week about how he thinks it's a great fit for Brian Goorjian, but I feel like it's a great fit potentially for him too.
Yeah, it would be. So, just listening to him the past few weeks or past few months really, he would have a whole list of questions for them, I think, before he stepped foot there. Lots going on in the background, which is something that not too many coaches would be too fond of, I don't think. But, you get a guy like Simon or, like Gorge, you'd kind of give him free rein. But again, that's all depending on the staff in the background. So Yeah, look, I think it would be a good fit. I think he'd be good there. I think he'd be good anywhere, honestly. I think he could go in and change the culture of a side and really be successful anywhere.
Then again, if Scott Ninnis keeps winning like he did last week, maybe it's his job as well, and there won't be a job there available either. And we certainly don't think there'll be a job at the Hawks because Justin Tatum's got that locked in.
Yeah, you'd think he does have that locked in at Illawarra. But yeah, Scott Ninnis has been doing unbelievable. He's, again, similar to the Hawks, he's holding the players accountable, and everyone seems to be buying into the systems and to what they're preaching, and it's really good to see.
All right, Cody, before we get to the results from round 14, you feel like the top 3 would be locked in right now. So we've got Melbourne still clear at 15-5, even though they had a slip up in Adelaide, but they still had a win 2 days earlier in Sydney. Yep. The Wildcats went down to New Zealand and beat the Breakers, so they're second at 12-7. Tasmania bounced back and beat Cairns to be 11-9. You feel like the top 3 are pretty much locked in?
Top 2, absolutely.
Yep.
Tassie in that third spot is still a little in the air, I think. We haven't seen a whole lot of consistency from them, but then again, we haven't seen consistency from anyone below them either. So it's tough to say. Yeah, look, I would expect that Tassie do finish third. But, you look at a team like Illawarra right now who are rolling, who have played, 3-4 less games than most teams. Yep. That's big advantage for them. They're sitting in 5th right now with the same losses as Tassie in 3rd. Yep. So that's big. Obviously, they've still got to go out and win some of these games that they've got to make up. But, look, I think there's a lot of movement to go between 3 and 6, which will be interesting.
So, it basically looks like there's only 3 spots left. Elvis is trying to eat out of a bowl that has no food in it, so he's had a big breakfast already, so he doesn't need any more food. The other 3 spots are now fascinating. All of these teams at different points have looked good enough to be one of the top teams, and they've also looked bad enough to be one of the bottom teams. So right now you've got the Kings, who are still 4th at 10-10. The Hawks are now 5th at 8-9. The Bullets are now up into 6th all of a sudden with a couple of wins. They're 9-11. Then you've got the Phoenix 9-11, the Breakers 8-10, the Taipans 9-12, the 36ers 6-13. Who takes those last 3 spots?
It's really tough. I think it's tough to say Sydney will fall out of there. They're not playing good basketball at all.
They still just have so much
talent.
So
talented. Yeah, exactly. And then again, you throw DJ Hogue back in there while hasn't had a great season. A guy like that can completely change the tide of how they're going.
Well, he's a guy we thought was all first last year.
Yeah, exactly. So it is what it is, but that's fine. The Hawks right now, if they keep playing the way they're playing, then I don't see how they don't finish in this top 6. Brizzy, again, just very up and down. They had that awesome game in Sydney, played really well, shot the lights out, got some minutes into Casey Prather, and then just everyone that touched the court was just did something positive. Yeah. It was really good to see. So they're a team that needs to do it by committee. South East Melbourne, who knows? Just with their injuries and their luck with that, it's frustrating. I think New Zealand and Cairns are probably the 2 that, while they're lower on the rung right now, they're probably playing a bit better than most of those teams above them. New Zealand coming storming back after being really bottom of the ladder for most of it. But it's nice to see a full roster there and how good they can be. Cairns, again, just inconsistencies, and I think they're their own worst enemy. Yep. They have games where they're unreal, and then games where you're just wondering what's going on. Turning the ball over so much and taking poor shots, and I think they can be a force to be reckoned with and make that 6 and kind of throw a bit of a spanner in the works, because I really wouldn't want to come across them.
You wouldn't, because they can beat anyone on their night. They could snatch a series against one of those top teams.
Well, they've been Melbourne's crutch this season, so doing what they do, and Simon spoke about it and how they go after Golding, and all of a sudden that just takes the rhythm out of that whole United team. So yeah, look, I can't see Adelaide touching it, unfortunately.
They're a bit too far back.
Yeah, as good as they're playing right now, I think they are just that bit too far back. And look, Cairns is very similar. On 12 losses now, that's probably about all they can afford to lose.
That's what we thought. We thought 12 was about your limit.
Yeah. Yep. So, look, interesting. My thoughts are probably, I reckon, the Hawks and Sydney, and then it's going to be Brizzy or New Zealand for me, I think.
Yeah.
If Brizzy can just hold on and win some more games, and I mean, they'll be looking back on their season so far and kicking themselves. They could very easily be in that third position with some of those games that they've let slip, and I thought they were going to let it slip against Sydney as well.
Almost did, yes.
Almost did, but New Zealand's going to come storming home, I think, with how they've been playing.
Yeah, especially we can get to it later with Lamb and Cheatham together.
Unreal.
They're really tough to stop.
Yeah.
So it started back on Thursday night, Cody. Melbourne United, too good for the Sydney Kings, 101-85. Then on Friday, we'll get to it shortly, but an absolutely decimated South East Melbourne Phoenix, no match for the Hawks, who won 116-78. And then over the weekend, the Tasmania JackJumpers got back to winning, beating the Cairns Taipans 103-86. The Adelaide 36 is probably the shock of the season so far, but fully deserved one with the way they played, beat Melbourne United 100-96. And then on Sunday, the Perth Wildcats 108-102 over the New Zealand Breakers. And then, as you touched on, the Brisbane Bullets beating the Sydney Kings for the first time in Sydney since 2017. Cody, you might have even been there. You were at the Hawks.
No, I was at the Hawks then,
2017.
Yep.
So the Bullets beat the Kings 101-93. Where do we start? Why don't we start with the Phoenix?
Yep.
We've talked all year about how for 4 years they just haven't had a good run getting a full team out on the court. All of a sudden, no Alan Williams, no Gary Brown, no Abdul Nader against the Hawks. They lost by 38 points as a result. Their biggest ever loss. Biggest loss by anybody this season. But when you lose 3 of your 4 best players, it's going to be mighty tough to compete.
Yeah, and it's just got to be continued frustration for the club in general, like we spoke about earlier, Simon had to walk away because of this, because of the constant frustrations with injuries and the luck just in general.
Yeah.
And I've touched on it a whole lot throughout, being on the show, and basketball is a game of luck as well. Like you have to be lucky to make finals, to push for a championship, to win a championship. Like luck does come as part of it. And these guys are on the complete opposite end of that. It's just injuries have just been ridiculous for these guys. And, like you said, losing Alan Williams, Gary Brown, Abdul Nader, that's a ton of what they do on the offensive end. But
well, just the numbers. Those 3 between them bring 44.7 points, 20.5 rebounds, 8.7 assists. That's more than half of your production in every area.
That's a lot. And then also what they do on the defensive end as well. So it's that's a lot, and it's not surprising they went and got absolutely annihilated. Yeah, look, it's really tough. I think that there's got to be growing frustrations in the background there as well. Something's got to be happening for this to keep happening. Whether it's their strength and conditioning guys that are not doing the right thing or what. But it's just been one bad season after another, really.
Yeah. I mean, some of these numbers are amazing. So by choice, they got rid of Will Cummings, and not by choice, they lost Craig Moller to injury. But that's another 20.7 points, 8.5 rebounds, 3.2 assists that they lost. So, I mean, that's over 65 points, 28 rebounds, 12 assists that they were missing from their best team that they came into the season with. They got good news with Gorjak back and Ruben Terengi back for that game, but it's only making up 9 points and 5 rebounds of what they're missing. I mean, have you ever been part of a team that's been that decimated?
Yeah, unfortunately. It's never fun. It's never fun. I think that, getting Yak and Tarangi back's really good, but, that's their bench stock. That's the guys that come in and give you that quick couple-minute burst of energy. And
ideally, that's Gak giving Williams a rest, and that's Tarangi giving Nader a rest, really.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really tough, but, then you've got to ask a lot of your role players to come out and be the guy, in something they're not used to being. And then, you're asking Creek to double, triple his workload, which is a lot in the first place. So, yeah, look, that's a lot of stats that are sitting on the sidelines
How hard is it to judge the job that Mike Kelly's doing right now just because of the personnel issues he's had to deal with the whole season?
It's nearly impossible. You can't judge it at all, you know. You know, reading people tearing him to shreds on X after their loss to the Hawks, and
There's nothing
what do you
more
expect?
You know? Nothing more a coach could do in that situation.
Well, that's it. You take out your 3 imports, which you kind of revolve your team around,
Yes.
and you know, like you said, missing 45 points and 20 boards and 9 assists. You take that out of any team, they're going to get smacked. You know, regardless of who's coaching, you know, what team it is, that's going to happen.
Well, the team they played against, it's almost like taking Sam Froling, Justin Robinson, and Gary Clark out of the Hawks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Wouldn't even compete. Like, not even close to compete, which is what we saw. So, yeah, look, I think it's almost impossible to judge how he's been this season.
Do you think they can still turn it around and at least make a play-in game, though?
I don't think so. Not at this point, unfortunately. It's just hard to see. They've just had no continuity. They've found it hard to really get into a rhythm, you know, where you see on the opposite end of the scale the Hawks, who are really hitting a rhythm now and hitting their stride and have some confidence. And so, no, I don't think so.
Also running out of time. There's only 5 weeks of the season to go. It goes quick. Sydney Kings. Last week, Simon talked about how he feels like they've got the tools where they can still be a championship caliber team. And I think that's impossible to argue against because of the pure talent they've got. But they could be the most talented team in the league individually. Yeah. But that's kind of what they're playing like right now. So they're 10-10. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games, 7 of the last 10, and 4 of the last 5 at home. Yeah. What are you seeing from the Kings right now after their losses to Melbourne and Brisbane?
Yeah, look, like you said, just individual. It's very much just, I guess, well, especially late in the games, it's very much give Jalen Adams the ball and just kind of let him do his thing. Yeah. The rotations have been very strange. There's been what seems like very little adjustment in game. I touched on that about a month ago when they kind of started this little skid that they've had. It seems like they go into a game with a game plan and don't change it at all. If it's working, not working, getting obliterated, they just kind of stick with it.
We saw that with their zone defense they used. It works great when you surprise a team with it, but eventually you get worked out.
Well, they threw it against Brisbane, and Brisbane went bang, 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 3 straight triples, and, you know, I think after the second one you need to get out of it, and, you know, they let a third one get off and make that, and it's 9 points in 3 possessions. That's a lot, you know, so, yeah, it's tough. I mean, you know, Valentine's been up and down, Hogue's out again, unfortunately, and even when he's in there, we haven't seen the ball in his hands a whole lot. So again, he hasn't been able to get into a rhythm. He had a disrupted off season, so you know he's obviously not coming into the season at his full potential anyway. Which, I mean, it sucks because you know we had him in all first team last year with Cairns, and again probably unlucky to not make that.
I think he was,
but you know, who do you take out of that one last year? No. But, you know, his responsibility is obviously a lot different here in Sydney. And, yeah, look, it's been very individual. And it seems like either the team's lost faith in the coach and the system, and they're just kind of off doing their own thing. But, you know, going back to rotations, guys like Angus Glover, he came on and was a spark for them against Brisbane.
He has been pretty much every time he's played.
Yeah, that's what he does. You know, that's what he does. That's why, you know, he played so much for the 2 championship Kings teams.
And he could have been grand final MVP last season.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm not sure what's going on. You know, I think the coach is obviously not a massive fan, which is, you know, is what it is, and that happens. But it was tough because he'd played 5 or 6 minutes when he came on in that third quarter. He was a -6, which isn't ideal. But again, that's not solely his problem. No. But again, he kind of sparked their little comeback to start with. Played like a minute and a half and then came back off. Hit a 3, got a good little stop, dove on a loose ball, and then dragged. I'm not sure what the rotations are and why certain guys are playing more than him. Because I just think he gives the energy that they need. They need that someone with that grunt and that willingness to do all the little things. And look, Brucey is certainly one of those guys as well, but he's playing major minutes. And
He's starting.
yeah, and he's a guy like Angus that needs to be in, out, come on, give that burst of energy, go bump someone, piss them off,
Yes.
which is what he does best. But when he's playing major minutes, that kind of falls to the wayside a little bit because you don't get away with it when you're doing it constantly. So, yeah, look, they're all over the place, unfortunately. Too late to get rid of a coach and bring someone in for sure. But I can't see him sticking around after this season.
You touched on most of what I wanted to bring up, but on the rotations, to me, they're a team that should be quite simple on who gets the minutes. So I would never have Jalen Adams and Sean Bruce on the court at the same time together because I think they're too similar in the roles that they play. So the only time I'd play Bruce is when Jalen needs a rest.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to just rotate between my two centres with Geordie Hunter and Jonah Bolden, and I would be happy to play both of them together a bit more than they have. And then I think their great strength and why Simon last week said that they're still a championship caliber team is their size and athleticism. But I think you lose some of that when you've got Bruce out there and probably when you've got Courtney out there as much as he's playing. I think their great strength is in DJ Hogue when he's healthy, with Denzel Valentine when he's playing well, Alex Tui and Jalen Galloway, because they're usually bigger, quicker, faster than the guys that they're playing against. So I just want to see Galloway, Tui, Valentine and Hogue, at least two of them always out on the court, if not three of them. Yeah. But we're not seeing that.
No, we're not. And look, I think Bolden's proven that he can play that full spot just with the way he stretches the floor. And even defensively, I think, you know, while he's probably not one of their better defenders, his size and athleticism makes up for that.
Sure.
Galloway and Tui have been really good this year. Galloway started like a house on fire. He was unbelievable to start the season and kind of had a bit of a odd patch.
He got hurt for a little while too.
Yeah. So he's been really good. I think Tui's been really consistent for them. I think he's been great, especially as, you know, his first year. And Valentine's been really up and down, but, you know, he has those games where he breaks the game open. You know, I think what was it, against Brizzy? He hit, I think it was back-to-back triples in the fourth, I think it was, but they were like his first makes of the game, and then he came down and shot a really bad three straight after that. Just kind of, that's the things he needs to take out of his game if these guys can be successful.
That's what he wasn't doing the week before when he had that big game in the win that they had.
Yeah, just taking what he's given. You know, I
and
think,
going inside first.
Yeah, and I think this league, you know, there's obviously a few players that can go and get their own whenever they want, obviously, but I don't think he's quite that kind of a player.
No, especially not when you're on a team with Jalen Adams.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, I think Hogue, hopefully we see him back and at as full strength as possible. Because, look, you know, you and Simon are right. These guys have all the pieces to be another championship contender. And the way they're playing, no. But, you know, all that's going to take is one game to really figure it out and get a bit of confidence back into them and turn the corner. And all of a sudden, you're thinking, oh, crap, we got the Kings again.
And they're still in fourth spot. So as bad as they're going, they're still in fourth. So they've still got enough room for error there where they can still make a real charge. Let's take a break, Cody. Yep. Plenty more for us to talk about once we hear from TABtouch.
Sounds good.
He'll make it for sure. That's why I backed him on TABtouch.
You got the touch. You got the power. Got the touch? Choose TABtouch. Better your bet. Download the app today.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
Okay, back on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. I'm here with Cody Ellis. Let's have an MVP discussion, Cody, because I don't think there's a discussion to be had anymore.
A short talk.
It'll be a very short talk. I mean, coming into the season, we threw up some different names at the halfway point. Because Bryce had a little bit of an up and down start, basically because of the team he was on, it wasn't so cut and dry. Right now, I don't think there's a discussion to be had. I mean, I don't think there's anyone even close to Bryce's league right now, and TABtouch agrees because $1.40 is a very short price for an MVP award.
Yeah, I still feel like even that's stealing money.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you know, like you said, even at the halfway point, there was a few guys with their hats in the ring for sure, and at the moment, I mean, there's no one even close. it would. I don't know. I don't even know what it would take for Bryce not to win it.
I don't think it's even a form slump. I
No.
think he would have to get injured and not play again.
Yeah.
Even then, he might still win it.
I know. I still think he might actually. So yeah, look. I mean, it was interesting, kind of halfway through the season because we were like, well, there's no clear-cut favourite, and that was a very strange position to be in because every single year there's always 2-3 guys that you're like, well, they're going to be in the race. And then obviously Bryce will always end up taking it. But apart from the Jalen Adams season that he had when he first came in, but Bryce is far and away the best player in the league, and it's not even close.
Could this be his best season? I mean, he's had to come through the challenges, but right now, the last 12 games, 28.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, 4.0 assists, while copping the physical attention that he does.
Oh, he's been unbelievable. And yeah, look, I think it's probably certainly close to one of his best seasons. Imagine if he didn't have that little form slump through the first 5 or 6 rounds. But I mean, he's a freak. It's unbelievable, and it's so fun to watch. I mean, he just teams get away with absolute murder off the ball with him, and it doesn't help that he's one of the smaller guys in the league and one of the lighter guys in the league, and it's kind of accentuated a little bit when he gets hit. But again, that's because the guys guarding him are a lot bigger and stronger. So it's just like, and you can see his frustrations, even though he shoots 17 free throws against New Zealand, and you probably could argue that he should have shot 25, 26 free throws. It's just it's insane, and what he does for the Cats, and just how he goes about his business, I think is really cool to see. And I mean, look, he's just unbelievable. It's we're very lucky to have him in the league.
As someone who's played against him, how do you avoid fouling him? Because I mean, he draws fouls in such different ways. So if he takes it inside, he's great at drawing contact from the big. So if you do close out on him hard to try to deny him his 3-point shot, he's so effective at drawing a foul inside. If he takes a jump shot, it's very hard to avoid fouling him if you heavily contest that, unless you take Trevor Gleason's advice and go left hand to left hand and avoid the body contact completely, but then you probably have less effect on the shot. So is there a way to avoid fouling him? Because he draws his fouls in so many different ways. Yeah,
and he is so good at being able to change direction just on a dime. He's super herky-jerky. He's so good with the ball and then getting up into his shot. And, the fact that he jumps so far forward on his shot, I mean, teams still haven't figured it out and how to guard that properly. And, I totally agree with Trev on how to guard that, but it's a lot easier said than done. Especially when you're trying to guard him straight up and then all of a sudden, obviously different on a closeout. They're probably the ones that he gets the fouls on more is those late closeouts and the long closeouts where people just run at him for some reason. But yeah, I don't know how you avoid fouling him. I mean, we never figured it out.
Did you ever get caught in isolation with him?
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah, late contest. That's about all you can ask for.
Sticking with the Wildcats, Alex Sarr's now out with a hip injury.
Yes.
I think it's a hip.
Yes.
So he didn't play against New Zealand. They still got the win without him. We've seen in the past that these next stars that end up being high draft picks, once there's any sign of a minor injury, we don't see them again. We saw it with LaMelo Ball, RJ Hampton, Josh Giddey. There's probably more. Is there a chance we don't see Alex again in the NBL?
Yeah, look, I think there's certainly a chance. He's kind of been that lottery pick from the very start. And, I mean, now he's sitting at number 1 again. And he's kind of been number 1 for a little while. It wouldn't surprise me if we just saw him not play again. Ball, Hampton and Giddey were all part of teams that weren't overly fantastic teams, and
from memory, none of them were even
close to. So it is a bit different being on a team that is a legitimate championship contender. But look, I guess it just depends how bad the injury is, and if it is raising any red flags and something that can be an issue later down the track, then they'll pull him. If it's something that's just happened and he's just tweaked it, then he could possibly come back. But I think he's going to be wrapped in bubble wrap from now on, unfortunately.
What do you think of the Wildcats? Because it seems like ever since that game at home they lost to Brisbane that they've just been on a remarkable tear. And I still can't figure out their roster because it's still a strangely configured roster.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Bryce, like we've talked about, but, Keanu Pinder, I think, is probably better suited at the 5 because that gives them the ability to have Christian Doolittle, Hiram Harris in the 4 and 3 spots. And then you've got Ty Webster, who's, for a guy that's not putting up the numbers that he can, at least scoring, and he's not shooting the ball well, he's having a big impact on the way they're playing. And then you got Bryce. And then you got Jesse coming in, and he's having as much impact as he ever has.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to see that from where he was earlier in the season. I mean, they're still not getting a lot out of Jordan Usher, and you can probably argue they're a better team the less that he plays, just because of some of the crazy shots he's taking and how poor defensively he is. But it's such a strangely put together team, but gee, they have to be a title chance, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any team with Bryce Cotton on it is a title chance, really. But yeah, look, it's certainly a little bit of an oddly built team, but it works, and when they've got everyone healthy, it certainly works. Tyrone on the show has been unbelievable. He's been a game changer for them, putting the ball in his hands. And again, I've touched on it multiple times. When he's out, all of a sudden you've got Bryce with the ball in his hands a lot more, and he's not as effective.
It's no coincidence that Bryce has been playing so well since Ty has been running the ship so well.
Yeah, and we've seen that in every team that Bryce has been on. There's been that ball handler.
Well, he's had Mitch Norton, he's had Damien Martin.
Exactly. So, Bryce is going to do Bryce things, but I think he's best suited coming off all sorts of off-ball action, which we've seen plenty of times. So, Doolittle, again, I don't need to harp on how much I enjoy his game and what he brings to the team and the league in general. But you look at guys like Jesse who are coming in and doing Jesse things, which is great to see. And Hiram Harris has been awesome. Yes. He's been a bit of an unsung hero. He's had his praise, but I think it's still been well under what he deserves because, I mean, he comes in and just changes it. Just with his screening and his willingness to do all the little dirty things. And
he's even hitting the odd outside shot now.
He is, yeah, exactly. I know. And that's a game changer. If he can knock those down and make people guard him out there, then that's another game changer. But yeah, look, very, very oddly balanced team, but it works.
Yeah. Brisbane Bullets. You touched on it earlier. They've been so close all season to being a really good team, and they've lost so many close games where they're in the top 6 now, but they could be higher had they strung things together. But I feel like they didn't have that winning edge to them. They didn't have that guy that they could turn to turn a game and that knew what it took to necessarily win and take over a game. I know they've got championship winners with Mitch Norton and Sam McDaniel, but they're more role players. They're not the guy to go to. Did you see enough in 10 minutes and 40 seconds from Casey Prather that he can be that last piece of the puzzle for them?
Look, I think in terms of that, like, championship mentality and that presence he brings, obviously it was hard to see a whole lot in 10 minutes out of him, and you could see he was a little bit hesitant, not his usual self that we've come to know with Casey. But again, a couple of years on the sideline and some major injuries will do that to you. So, look, I think he's really going to help them. And even if he's not the Casey Prather of old that we know, just him being out there is going to be massive for them.
You felt the full brunt of him more than anybody.
More than once, absolutely, yes. He tore us to shreds a few times. He's and look, I'm really glad he's back in the league because he's an extreme talent, and he's going to be only positive for the Bullets, I think.
I love the way he talks because he comes in and he talks about how the only thing that matters to him is winning a championship. Yep. He's won championships before and he wants to make this team a championship team. Having that mentality on a team that's been a great underachiever, that can only be a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. And that's, again, the fact that he's won multiple championships with Cats and Melbourne. He's a proven winner, and that's been, the thing about Casey is he's just that winner. And you don't see a lot of imports come in and be that guy. So to have him come into a team like Brisbane and talk that way, I think is huge. And, it's no surprise why they went out and got him.
I love what Rocco Zikarsky's doing. He's only 17.
Yeah.
Is he already the best rim protector in the league, though?
Yeah, look, I think he's certainly up there for sure. And a lot of it is just willingness to go and try block shots and change shots. And he's been dunked on a few times, but he doesn't care.
He doesn't generally get in foul trouble like the other big guys either.
No, he's not obviously out there as much as the other guys
either. He doesn't
either.
seem to get called for many either.
No, and he's been doing a really good job of being that rim protector. And, you know, a guy of his size, you know, you get into the paint and you see him coming across the weak side, you got to change his shot. So it's, he's certainly one of the better ones in the league for sure.
Nathan Sobey. Is this the best basketball we've ever seen him play? I mean, he's putting up 27.6 points over the last 5 games, but I feel like he's playing the best team basketball we've ever seen of him as well.
Yeah, he's in a zone right now, and it's awesome to see. And this is kind of the Sobes that I expected coming into the season.
Yep.
It's taken a bit of adjustment for him, obviously, but I mean, what he's doing right now is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, this is certainly some of the best basketball I've seen him play, and I've been on the wrong end of him a couple times as well. Look, I mean, he's always going to be that scorer and be that scoring punch, but the way he's going about it, I think, is different to how he used to go about it. And he's been a game changer for them.
There was one moment late in the game against Sydney where he took a bad quick three when they were, I think they were still only 4 points up and Sydney were making a run, but I think he realised that was the wrong decision, and every play he made after that was the right one.
Yeah.
So I think he's learning how to be that better finisher and rely on his teammates a bit more.
Yeah, well, that's it. And the fact that he's got some good teammates around him now obviously makes a big difference. And like I said, there was a bit of an adjustment period for him. But geez, he's, you know, again, if we had have seen this Sobey from the very start, it'd be him and Bryce in the MVP conversations.
This is one new signing and roster move I didn't expect us to be talking about, Cody. Junior Madut has been let go from the Tasmania JackJumpers, and Tom Vodanovich has been brought in, obviously a championship winner of the Sydney Kings. He played at the New Zealand Breakers. This catch you by surprise.
Very much so. When I saw that, it was very unexpected. Bit out of the blue, bit out of left field. Junior Madut has proven that he can play in this league, and I thought being at Tassie was his perfect fit. Just the way he plays and the way he goes about it. I thought that was his perfect fit. You got a guy like McDonald doing what he does. I mean, it's going to be hard for you to find minutes anywhere.
Well, I mean, McDonald is the guy that's playing behind Crawford and Doyle. Yeah, and there's no minutes there left. Is there?
None. No, and look, McDonald has certainly proven that he's an elite point guard. Yes. So, and just the way
it's crazy to think he's still a development player.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Scott Roth talks about him as their next star, and he's absolutely playing at that level.
Very much so. He's been awesome and just super consistent. So, yeah, look, I mean, obviously not a whole lot of minutes to go and to find when those guys are all playing. So, look, it's unfortunate. I think he finds his way on a different team next year, but hopefully that happens. But look, Tom Vodanovich, that's a big signing. It's a good pickup. I think bit of toughness.
Yes.
On the defensive end is probably what Scott Roth's gone for.
I think you're right. I think the thing that they've been missing this season is that little bit of toughness, bit of rebounding, and that defensive grit. And something that makes them tough to play against that they've had the last 2 years. They haven't had that, but he's not a lot of fun to play against.
No, he's not. No, big body, strong, happy to hit you and happy to get up and in and do all the little things. And I think that's the perfect signing. And then on the other end is an absolute knockdown shooter. Yeah, so, again, stretches the floor. So I'd assume he'd be coming in kind of for Jack, letting him sit for a bit. And, yeah, look, really good signing. And again, something that I think came out of left field.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, before we move on and take our last break and turn attention to round 14, Cody, have I missed anything? Anything else from the last week of basketball? Well, actually, we didn't even mention the Adelaide 36ers.
Yes.
So they celebrated their 1999 championship. They wore some uniforms that I wish they would wear a lot more often. Yep. And they've now created a big three with Trey Kell running the point and 24 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists on the back of a triple-double the week before. DJ Vasiljevic is just fearless with the shots he takes, 30 points. And then Isaac Humphries is become a focus for them. Yeah. So 16 points and 7 rebounds. They beat Melbourne United. I know it's only 1 win in a season. They've only won 6 for the year, but how big was that for them on a night that was their biggest ever crowd in Adelaide and celebrating a 25-year anniversary.
Yeah, huge. Look, going up against a team that lots of us thought are almost untouchable, you know. In saying that, I think Melbourne has been not great this past couple of weeks. So, but we can touch on that in a bit. Adelaide were unbelievable. Awesome to see them come out and do that on a night where they're celebrating history of the club. In, like I said, some of my favourite jerseys going around, and you're right, I wish they wore those more often because they're so cool. They're awesome.
I don't know why they ever changed the logo and the colours. I mean, when I think of Adelaide, I think of the royal blue, the red and the yellow.
Yep.
I don't know why they ever changed.
Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. You know, teams do this sort of stuff. So, but yeah, look, the big three in Kel Vasiljevic and Humphreys has been awesome. And then just getting bits and pieces from the rest of the crew has been really good. So, massive win for them, and they just kind of get free swings at people, and they're a dangerous team. You know, they're certainly talented enough to be able to get wins in this league, and you know, it's tough in the position they're in, with how they kind of fell way down the ladder, and they're not really playing for a whole lot. Probably more pride in the club and themselves and the fans than anything. So to go out and get a win against Melbourne, it was huge.
Last one on that. What about for Jason Cadee? He has fallen out of the rotation. He comes in late in that game. He grabs a massive offensive rebound and he draws a couple of fouls late, and they put the ball in his hands because they trust him late in that game, and he was a big reason why they held on to win. What does that say about him?
Oh, ultimate professional, you know, and you know that doesn't surprise me in the least. Jace has been the go-to guy on teams. He's been that guy that just gives bits and pieces here and there, and obviously, you know, being that veteran now and having been in the league for 107 years, and
he's getting close to 400 games.
Yeah,
which is
it's
incredible.
crazy. I know. It's it's very impressive, especially after the injury he had.
That was before he played one.
Yeah. So look, I think ultimate professional and a guy that is willing to do whatever he needs when his number's calling, and it was good to see him go in and be a bit of a game saver for them.
All right, Cody. Let's take a break. We'll hear from TABtouch, and then we'll come back and look ahead to round 14.
Sounds good.
He'll make it for sure. That's why I backed him on TABtouch.
You got the touch. You got the power. Got the touch? Choose TABtouch. Better your bet. Download the app today.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
All right, back on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle, and I think I might have said we were going to preview round 14, Cody. We're up to round 15.
Round 15.
We're up to round 15 already. So sorry to anyone that listened to the start of the show and I said it was round 14. That's even more scary because it's round 15 already. So we're here thanks to TABtouch. So head to tabtouch.com.au or download the TABtouch app, and we'll all try to help you find some winners. These multis are getting tougher because it's so hard to predict what's going to happen, Cody.
Yeah, it really is. And trying to give a bit of variety as well within it. But yeah, it's getting harder and harder with teams finding some form, and you know, some of the top teams kind of falling a bit out of form. So it's been hard to pick.
Yes, but check out that TABtouch exclusives app on TABtouch wherever you find it, and we'll have some more options for you this week. Short turnaround, Cody.
Yeah,
Wednesday night things get underway in round 15. It's at Nissan Arena. Brisbane Bullets on the back of a couple of wins and moving up into 6th place against the Tasmania JackJumpers, who got a steadying win against Cairns to remain solid in 3rd spot. So this is a good way to start.
Very good and really interesting game, and you know, like we'll probably say with most of these games moving forward, lots of ramifications on everything. You know, wins and losses. Brizzy really need a win to keep in touch with the top 6, and Tassie really need a win to kind of separate themselves in that 3rd spot. So tough one. I think we see Tassie come out and probably get this one. But if Brisbane play the same way they did against the Kings, then they're going to be tough to beat. You know, if they're moving the ball the way they're doing, if they're making those open shots that they did against the Kings, then they're going to be tough to beat. But Tassie has a bit better bite defensively than Sydney do.
We tried to see Jordan Crawford take it inside and challenge Rocco Zikarsky.
Well, that's it. This is one of those games where
there's almost 2 feet, two feet the difference between those two.
Yeah, even Ty and Bainesy are just so much bigger, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And against guys like Nordo and McDaniel is going to be a fun little matchup.
Nathan Sobey, Milton Doyle is what I'm
Can't wait.
looking forward to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a heavyweight matchup right there. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I might be battling over in a spot in the all-first team as well.
Yeah.
There might only be room for one of them.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. So, yeah, look, I'm really excited for this one and kind of happy it's on Wednesday.
Yes.
Get to see it sooner.
Thursday night, standalone game. You talked earlier about how Adelaide have a lot of free hits now for the rest of the season, and they just made the most of one against Melbourne United. They can really make life tough for the Sydney Kings now. I imagine another big crowd at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre, and DJ Vasiljevic against his old team for the first time. This has, for a game that's bottom against the defending champs, this has blockbuster written all over it.
Huge. Obviously DJ is going to come out and be ready and raring to go. But yeah, look, it's going to be really interesting to see how Sydney respond. Because, we touched on their record in their last, 10-ish games. It's just not good. It's awful. And again, still sitting right there in that top four, but
3-7 in the last 10.
That's terrible, and the fact that they're still in the top four is very impressive and just a bit of a testament to how they started the season. But, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So it's a must win for them, I think, just to right the ship a bit. But Adelaide's going to come in swinging, and I expect DJ, who I'm not sure who they're going to throw on him, probably have to be Galloway or someone, just a bit of length, and he's going to have a big one. But look, I want to say Sydney get up and get it, but I'm not sure with them right now. So I'm going to go with Adelaide.
It doesn't feel like the ordinary game of a former player playing against his old team, because there's a bit of bad blood there between DJ and the Kings, the way that they didn't immediately clear him to return to the league and go to Adelaide, and he made his feelings clear, and he's made his feelings clear about the Kings. And he talked about how he wants to be the one that ends their quest for a three-peat. This could be a good way to go about it.
It could be. It could very well be, but it could also play in the Kings' favour. Sure. DJ could come out and try too hard to do that. Going to be a good, solid game. I think if DJ can just go about his business as per usual, not try and do it all himself, then I think
probably not too many half-court shots.
Yeah, no, not too many. Not too many. One or two, I'll certainly be happy to watch. But the way the Sixers have been playing kind of better team basketball is why they've been more successful. So hopefully they can do it that way and make a real good game of it.
Two massive games on a Friday night. So the New Zealand Breakers looking to bounce back now from losing to the Perth Wildcats after winning 4 in a row before that. But I'm just excited to see more of Anthony Lamb and Zylan Cheatham playing alongside each other.
Yeah.
But Melbourne United, we talked last week about it, how Sydney were coming up against them off a loss. They're the one team you just don't want to play when they're coming off a loss, because they always hit back.
Yeah, they do. They really do. And look, Melbourne's been a little bit down from what they had been. Kind of, and look, it's tough to be at the level that they've been playing at for a whole season. So you're going to go through some slumps and kind of you go through the motions a little bit, I think. We've seen some games where they've kind of just gotten over the line because of their talent. I think they got lucky to beat Perth. But, again, uber talented, so you can rely on having that bit of talent. But then I don't think they're quite playing as well as they did kind of in that middle patch of the season where they just looked unbeatable. Some guys look like they're maybe trying to get their own a little bit more than they had been, which I get. I totally understand. And I think Dean's going to have them ready and raring to go. But, on the other side is New Zealand. And you're right. I think just seeing more games with this roster together is going to be fun. And we've seen how good they can be. Cheatham and Lamb are just a ridiculous duo and tough to guard, and then tough to go against on the other end of the floor.
Yeah, well, they're better than I think people give them credit for defensively. And then against Perth, even though they lost, I mean, they combined for 52 points, but they also were efficient. 17 of 26 field goals, 14 of 17 free throws. So to me, we've only seen them for probably 3 games together, but they're almost my favourite duo already.
Well, that's it. And the more games we get to see of them, the better they're going to get. So this is a heavyweight battle, this one. New Zealand need a win to keep their finals hopes alive.
Well, they need to get back into the top 6 there. They've slipped out.
They do. So, but look, I just think Melbourne's going to be too talented and ready to go, and I think they get this one.
Second up on Friday, the Tasmania JackJumpers. So short turnaround. So they play in Brisbane on Wednesday and then back home on Friday night, hosting the Illawarra Hawks, who, like we talked about before, it's incredible to say this, but they're the form team in the competition. I think they're 5-2 under Justin Tatum. They're in fifth spot. Who gets this one?
I want to say the Hawks because of the quick turnaround for Tassie.
Yes.
And look, I expect Wednesday night's game with Brizzy to be a pretty high, intense and physical game. So I think that the way the Hawks are playing, I think getting out and running and just, whether it's out of the net, just pushing the ball up the sideline. We've seen them, after a score, inbound it, one kick up the sideline, another kick up the sideline, layup. Yeah. So I think that's going to be tough for Tassie to turn around and try and guard. And then on the other end, I think the Hawks are playing better defense. They're starting to mix it up a little bit. They got their hands full with Tassie though, on that end of the floor. So it's going to be a fun matchup. But I reckon the Hawks get this one.
2 more games on Saturday. First up in Cairns, the Cairns Taipans. They're another team that needs to win if they want to try to get back into that top 6. But like we talked about, the 36ers, this is another free hit, even though it's on a short turnaround.
Yeah, very short turnaround again. But look, Cairns are going to be desperate. I think that they're still kind of in touch with the 6, but can't afford to lose anymore. So
especially this one, they can't lose to a team below them.
No, they can't.
I think there's only one team below them.
Yeah, that's it. So I think that Cairns get this one. But yeah, look, they've really got to start stringing some games together and not taking quarters off. I think is the big thing for them, and really limiting their turnovers, which I think they can against Adelaide. I think, if they're going to turn the ball over a lot, it's going to be their own doing. I don't think Adelaide are quite as good defensively as most other teams. Sorry. So, yeah, look, it will be self-inflicted, which we've seen before with Cairns, unfortunately. Yes. But I think Cairns get this one.
Second up on Saturday, the Perth Wildcats back at home for the first time in a few weeks, now that RAC Arena's back into a basketball venue and not a tennis stadium. Open air as well. Yeah. Certainly no problem with the weather, so there's not going to be anything that'll stop that happening. Against a South East Melbourne Phoenix team that, let's just pray that they get at least some bodies back. I think Alan Williams is just a matter of he's going to have to keep dealing with that knee injury, but let's hope that Nader with his hand and Brown with his groin are okay to play. Either way, you give the Phoenix any chance?
No, unfortunately. Look, it's tough, and coming to Perth's always difficult. But with the spectacle of the open air and just the way the Cats are playing right now, I can't see the Phoenix getting this win at all. Hopefully we see all 3 imports back. That'd be huge for them. Because if they're not, then it could be a bit of a bloodbath again, unfortunately.
Yes. Sunday. Every game this round has ramifications in some way, and Sunday is no different. So the Brisbane Bullets at home again, hosting the Illawarra Hawks. So again, we're seeing some teams on short turnaround. So Brisbane have a bit of time from Wednesday night to back up, but the Hawks have to come straight from Hobart, head up to Brisbane for the first game on a Sunday. So they play the second game on a Friday night and then the first game on Sunday. So tough turnaround, but gee, this is a toss of the coin between the teams that come into the round just cling to those play-in spots.
Yeah, tough one for them. Brizzy with a good little rest from Wednesday to Sunday, and like you mentioned, the Hawks with a real quick turnaround. But look, I don't think that'll worry the Hawks too much. They're not like a veteran stacked team at all. You know, they've got lots of young guys, lots of guys willing to run and stuff like that.
And they seem healthy.
Yeah, they do, which is a nice change. This is going to be a fun one as well. I think that, you know, two teams that are really pushing for that top six, and two teams that I want to see in the top six. Yes. I want to see what they do come playoffs. It's a bit of a flip of the coin for me on this one. My thoughts are Brizzy purely for the fact that they've got a bit more rest between games.
No travel in between either.
Yeah, so we'll go with Brizzy.
Last game of the round. This could be the most fascinating one because I'm not sure there's room in the top six for both of the teams that fought out for the championship last season. So the Sydney Kings back at home to the New Zealand Breakers. You could learn a lot from both teams from how this game plays out.
Yeah, well, Kudos Bank Arena has not been a happy stomping ground for Sydney.
No, they've lost 4 of their last 5 home games.
Yeah, that's not ideal. That's not ideal. And look, I think it's tough because the fans there aren't going to keep coming out if they're going to keep performing the way they do. So it'd be interesting to see the crowd there. I'm sure they'll get a good crowd. But this is a big one. This is huge, and again, New Zealand, a team that can't afford to lose too many more games if they want to make the 6, and Sydney again, who can't afford to lose too many more games if they want to keep in the 6 or keep in the 4 at least. Yep. So I can't see how the Kings guard the Breakers. I do think New Zealand get it, but then that's saying Kings are going to go 0 for 2 this weekend, which is I also struggle to see happening. But
I think they'd be out of the top 6 if that happens.
The way they're playing right now is tough to back them. So let's go with the Breakers. But yeah, look, I think that's going to be a big game.
Either way, depending on if things go to plan how you thought early in the week, one of those teams is going to go 0-2 this weekend.
Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal for two teams that need some wins. So tough matchups. I mean, you know, New Zealand with Melbourne and Sydney, and Kings with Adelaide, who are playing a lot better basketball in Adelaide with a bloke that wants to absolutely torch them.
Yep.
And then back into a New Zealand team who's playing some good basketball right now. So Kings need to figure it out. New Zealand need to bounce back, and it's going to be an interesting round.
All right, so that'll be round 15, Cody. Doesn't feel like we've had 15 weeks of basketball,
it doesn't.
But I guess we have. I guess it's the reality. So a lot to look forward to. Every single game this week has a lot riding on it. Go to TABtouch and try to line your pockets a little bit. If you maybe take the opposite of our advice, Cody, might be the best way to go. But check it out at tabtouch.com.au or on the TABtouch app. Or if you need some shoes or need some basketball merchandise, Cody, head to Hoop 7. If you're in Perth, go to Murray Street, or if you're anywhere else, go to hoop7.com.au. That's been a lot for us to cover once again, Cody. That hour flew by once again. Thank you to Elvis, who's conked out and having a nice little sleep all of a sudden. I'm Chris Pike. I'll sign off and leave you with the final say, Cody.
Yeah, looking forward to a big round. Lots of movement amongst the ladder, I think, and it's going to be fun.
He'll make it for sure. Now that's why I backed him on TABtouch.
Hey, Luke!
Yes, Gene Simmons?
He's probably the best when it comes to this stuff!
Thanks, Gene.
You've got the touch! You got the touch, you got the power. Got the touch? Choose TABtouch. Better your bet. Download the app today.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.